Hello everybody and welcome back to the Student Exemplar series. Today we're going to have another look at a Jekyll and Hyde answer. This one is from a student who wants to remain anonymous, that's fine. If you get your work featured in this series, I'll send you a copy of my Guide to English Language and a copy of my Guide to English Literature. So the question was, how does Stevenson use setting to create mystery and fear in the reader? Refer to this extract and the rest of the text. So you can pause the video and look at the extract if you like. And let's get right into the answer. It's a pretty long answer, and I don't know about you, but I think some people are able to write really long answers and some people aren't. I think you'll get longer and longer the more you practice, so it's a good sort of bit of advice to just do practice questions a lot because you'll find you get quicker. Stevenson uses juxtaposition to explore setting in this extract, creating a sense of mystery and fear. The street shone out in contrast to its dingy neighbourhood like a fire in a forest, however was broken by a court. The positive description of the streets metaphorically shining deludes the reader into thinking all is well, with the shining symbolising the light of knowledge and good. Here Stevenson is attracting the Victorian audience with their strict Christian views against sinning and evil to their version of the perfect street. However, the expectations are broken. This irregularity in the street not only represents Jekyll's own irregularities, which led him to creating Hyde and eventually broke or destroyed him, but also intensifies feelings of wonder in first-time readers who are curious to know why there is an irregularity. It comes as a slight shock to the reader that there is evil present in this seemingly utopian society, but we have been given clues in the simile of the street being like a fire. Fires generally have evil connotations, they cause destruction. However, this fire could even be said to be cleansing or sterilizing the forest, which may represent the sinister mysteries and dark evils of London. Stevenson could be allowing the reader to realize the delusional nature of appearances. The forest could also be symbolic of the dominant evil within us all, which is often counteracted with only one area, street, of good influence, which was a common belief of the evangelicals, which Stevenson may be alluding to here. The fact that forests are often so dark and hidden, yet easy to identify, could be symbolic of the underlying and ironically well-known yet never talked of secrecy, especially about sinful desires, prevalent in the Victorian mindset and lifestyle. Perhaps Stevenson is warning us to be cautious of the evil in everything seemingly good, even ourselves. Now here's an example of really close language analysis where the student has taken really a very small set of quotations and analysed them in great detail. Really good language analysis, structure analysis too with the juxtaposition, well expressed. I like the links to context. I'd like to see a little bit more obvious, explicit linking to Stevenson's themes and ideas, because all of the sort of themes that are being brought up here are the writer's themes, and linking it clearly to the writer's message and behind the whole thing, rather than just sort of saying Stevenson might be saying this. Let's be confident. We know Stevenson has these themes and is, using this to present them. Fires also spread quite fast. The reader may feel this street should be having a growing good influence on its dingy neighbourhood. However, as this doesn't seem to be the case, it is still dingy, the reader is interested to know exactly what qualities of the street are increasing, and why Stevenson has been so deliberate in his choice of simile. Stevenson uses alliteration and personification to invoke fear of the door or building in the reader. He talks of the certain sinister block of building which thrust forward its gable on the street. The alliterative sibilance of certain and sinister creates a daunting and dangerous atmosphere like the secret and sly hissing of a snake, inciting fear in the reader. I'm just going to pause there because I love that, because I've read so many examples of student work where they say sibilance creates fear or sibilance has a negative effect, and you've got to explain how, and that's really well explained here. This sound is contrasted with the hard, plosive alliteration of b, which shows the massive and harsh impact the building can have. The reader is interested as to how one building can have such different qualities in and of itself, and is fearful of the twisted qualities and duality of everything so far in the book, foreshadowing the duality of Jekyll in Hyde. Really love this answer. Such close language analysis. It's a great example of how you can take not many quotations and analyse the life out of them. The reader also is shocked and intrigued by Stevenson's personification of the wall, calling it a blind forehead. The reader wonders what it is blind to, possibly such evil occurrences happening inside that the wall itself doesn't see, showing the effect of evil even on inanimate objects. Or possibly the wall itself is symbolic of evil that it ignores and even goes out of its way not to be affected by the good of the street surrounding it without realising the dangerous effect it's having, reflecting Hyde inside Jekyll. A Victorian reader would have been familiar with this secretive nature of people, which is here reflected even in the buildings, and be fearful as to what evil the building could contain, which we later find out is Hyde. Perhaps Stevenson is warning us to not only not trust anything, but also be wary of the effect such evils can have on their surroundings, whether it is the inside of a building, disfiguring the outside, or the true inequalities of a man being reflected on his face, as in the late Victorian science of physiognomy, and could be further prejudicing the reader against Hyde before we even meet him. Stevenson uses the setting of Utterson's dreams to create mystery and fear in the reader. I love the way this student, their topic sentence, the first sentence of each lead-in paragraph clearly links to the question. It's such an important thing to show the examiner, look, I'm answering the question here. Describing it as a curtained room in the night, where all he can see is a metaphoric lighted scroll of pictures, Hyde's actions, constantly going through his mind. It is ironic that a curtain usually helps people to sleep by blocking out the light and the daily haywire in people's lives. However, here it is the darkness of the curtained room, not allowing Utterson to sleep, which interests the reader and creates a sense of mystery as to why this is so. This could be because the curtain symbolises secrecy, and that Utterson cannot see outside of his constricted knowledge and know more of Hyde, which frustrates him, and the reader can empathise with those feelings about the secrecy common in Victorian times. I would have loved at that moment for this student to just explain a bit more about that theme in Victorian society. Alternatively, the curtain could represent how even the symbolic evil and darkness of the night is protected from what Utterson sees and knows of Hyde, as he is so much more evil. The Victorian reader would be familiar with the hiding of sins and be fearful of what evil sins Hyde could have gotten up to, that even itself, the night, mustn't know of them, while also feeling that the mystery needs to be solved and Hyde must be stopped, creating tension. Perhaps Stevenson is teaching us of the harmful effects of evil on other innocent people trying to figure it out to help others, but also, e.g. Utterson, but also that evil can never truly be understood by the good. So again, I'd like to have seen a little bit more confidence about the writer's ideas and themes. And this student seems to be so confident about the use of language, but just slightly hesitant to then link it to the writer's ideas and themes. And, you know, there were only a few ideas and themes in this text. That, you know, Stevenson is talking about the duality of mankind and the sort of hypocrisy in the hidden society and all that kind of thing. So, you know, be confident to write about them. Stevenson uses setting to create anticipation and fear in the reader in the chapter Incident at the Window. So this is the wider reference to the text. He talks of how the sun was high in the sky, making it bright, but this is contrasted with the onset of twilight. The sun usually represents hope, happiness, and knowledge, but here it is high and far away metaphorically, representing the idea that happiness and good is leaving London and the characters. Alternatively, it could represent that it is at its peak and so soon will fall. This is supported by the fact that it is bright, which shows the effect of the sun is not left yet, and possibly that Utterson still has a chance to find out about Jekyll and help him. A reader reflecting back would realise that this was at a time when Hyde hadn't yet completely overtaken Jekyll. Good still had a chance to prevail. The fact that Stevenson didn't allow good to prevail could show that it wasn't meant to be, to teach Jekyll a lesson for meddling with nature and warn the reader not to become too obsessed with fanciful science, which was a growing fear in Victorian times. Or possibly the overall good was that Jekyll was transformed and taught a lesson before being killed by his evil side, to ensure no one would follow suit, and so both the evil side and the deluded side were killed. In this view it did prevail eventually, just not in the expected way. So I like this bit here that really says, this is the message, this is the theme of this. Even so, the reader's sense of security in a seemingly protected and bright atmosphere is stopped by the revelation that twilight is coming. Twilight is a beautiful deep colour, which can delude some readers into believing all is well before they're shocked by the incident at the window, and furthers Stevenson's belief of duality in everything, even nature. This is because twilight also represents the coming of night, which is symbolic of evil and darkness, and foreshadows that evil will soon prevail in the form of Hyde, which causes anticipation and fear in the reader. Twilight is also the transition phase between day and night, and so good and evil, hinting to the reader and representing Jekyll's also being the transition phase and about to become Hyde. Because a first-time reader wouldn't know of the Jekyll-Hyde relationship, they would be curious to know of the transitioning and possibly fear due to the uncertainty and Victorian beliefs in the symbolic evil of night. Perhaps Stevenson is teaching that although nature has good and bad sides, the good of day will always follow the evil of night, and so never lose hope. To conclude, Stevenson uses setting to reflect the actions of characters and the theme of duality, and also to foreshadow significant turns of events. So obviously a very, very strong answer. I just would have liked a little bit more focus on Stevenson and what he was saying, rather than getting just occasionally drifting into the story and what we learn about the characters. What this is really about is how is this representing the themes of the author. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already.